did, I was always miserable when I was working. Even when I was off the clock, I was miserable. So, I got out of the rat race a few years ago, and I've never been happier.
Have you ever cheated on anyone?
Yes and no. No, not really. I don't believe in monogamy. I would never have a one-on-one relationship. I do mess around with multiple partners, but they all know that we're in an open relationship, so it's not cheating. They're all allowed to have multiple partners too, and most of them do. Even saying that they're allowed to have multiple partners sounds wrong to me. I just don't understand monogamy. How can you tell another person they aren't allowed to do things that make them happy? That just seems so controlling to me. I could never do that to someone, or let someone do that to me.
What is your most unusual talent?
I know how to survive in the wilderness. I can tell what's edible. I can build a shelter and a fire. I can clean water so it's safe to drink. Just survival skills in general. I don't like being dependent on money or on society, so I learned how to get by on my own.
What is your proudest accomplishment?
I organized a demonstration to save a park, and it worked. They were going to level the place and build a distribution center. We had people protesting at the site for 3 weeks straight and got over 1,000 names on the petition. They ended up building the distribution center on the site of a nearby abandoned mall instead, so we didn't lose any jobs or anything. It was a complete win.
If you found a wallet, would you return it?
I would return it, but I wouldn't be doing the owner a favor by doing so. People are obsessed with money and credit cards. They think money will buy them the freedom to enjoy life. Really, the quest to acquire wealth just makes you a slave to your employer. Still, it's their wallet, so of course I'd return it.
What were you like as a child?
I was a straight A student. I had perfect attendance and all that. It wasn't until I became an adult that I realized how conforming to society's standards was actually a bad thing. If I could go back and do it again, I'd focus more on enjoying my childhood.
What do you do for a living?
I escaped the rat race a few years ago. I cut all my expenses drastically, so now I only need a few $100 a month to survive. I deliver food through those gig apps, but only 2 or 3 orders per day, just enough to get by. I find if I make more money than I need, I just end up buying stuff that clutters my life and makes me less happy.
If you were going to be stranded on an island with one person of your choosing, who would it be?
I know the standard answer is to name someone really hot who you want to sleep with, but that's actually pretty cruel. You're basically condemning the person you picked to be stranded on a deserted island. That's a pretty awful thing to do to someone. I'd pick no one. I'd be stuck on the island by myself.
That's a lie.
This is embarrassing. I forgot I was hooked up to a lie detector. I'd pick Chris Hemsworth. Sorry, Chris.
If you could have any job, what would it be?
I don't want any job. The most valuable thing I have is my free time, and I am not willing to sell that time for an hourly wage.
What was your childhood dream?
To be a corporate executive, live in a big house, and make a six-figure salary. When I got older, I realized that a job like that would take up almost all my free time, and then taking care of a house of that size would take up the little bit of time I had left. Now that dream sounds like a nightmare to me.
What's your happiest memory?
Well, that's a no-brainer. My happiest memory is the day my beautiful daughter Mallory was born. I had her in the hospital and everything. I mean, I was already in the hospital because I'd been bitten by a raccoon. And I suppose it would have been easier if I'd had a doctor present, but I got stuck in an elevator on the way to the maternity floor. There I was, with the raccoon I brought with me to get tested for the rabies. It got loose and I had to fend that off for a while. Even so, out Mallory came and life was perfect.
What is your most unusual pet peeve?
Unusual pet peeve. Well, I tell you, there's a phrase that people overuse all the time, and it really does my head in because people say lightning never strikes twice. Well, I can tell you it does. It struck me 4 times, so that phrase is total nonsense. It's a bum steer.
What's your happiest memory?
When I was 8 years old, my parents bought me my first pony. They made sure it was a surprise by telling me I wouldn't get one until I was 10 years old. Then I went outside, and there she was, with a big bow. It was extra surprising because it wasn't even my birthday.
Describe a typical day in your life.
My days are really busy. My trainer wakes me up at 8, then I hit the gym for 2 hours. I head downstairs to get breakfast, then I take a shower, get my hair and makeup done, then I get dressed, and I take my first selfie of the day. Then I talk to my agent and she tells me what photo shoots I have or other obligations. On the rare days that I'm not that busy, I get to come on things like this show.
That's the end of this round. We'll soon find out who will be going home after this message from our sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by the letter K. Now it's time for the audience to vote. Please enter the selection of the contestant you think should be going home. The votes are in. The audience has voted to send home Claire. Oh, I am so sorry, Claire.
Oh, that's okay. Thanks so much for having me. It's just been so exciting to be here, and I've never won anything, so I didn't expect to win today anyway, but I'm just glad I could take part.
What's the most serious law you've ever broken?
I used to have steaks flown in from this place that I love in France. I stopped when I found out it was illegal to import meats. I don't know how serious of a crime that is, but I'm glad I never found out the hard way.
What's your happiest memory?
That's easy. First time I went to Burning Man. It wasn't that I loved Burning Man. Back then, I worked myself to death at my office job. I only averaged maybe 50 hours per week, but the stress, it stayed with me all the time, so it felt like 100. Burning Man was the very first vacation I ever took. Once I got to feel what it was like to be free from work for multiple days straight, it changed my life. I stopped working a corporate job, stopped obsessing over money, and now I'm finally happy.
Have you ever cheated on anyone?
No, I would never do that. And I've proven it. I was asked out by Ryan Gosling, and I said no. I was dating a guy at the time. We weren't serious, but I don't cheat.
What's your most unusual pet peeve?
It drives me crazy when people throw away plastic bottles with the cap screwed on. I understand that people are busy and can't always do much to help the environment, but all they have to do in this case is not screw the cap back on. If they put the cap on, then there's air trapped in the bottle and it won't flatten out in the landfill. Just leave the cap off and the bottle will get crushed and will take up way less space. It literally takes less than no effort.
What is your favorite holiday?
My birthday falls on Christmas, so I get double presents every year. What can compete with that?
Describe a typical day in your life.
I live in my van now by choice. When I wake up, I usually drive to the gym so I can work out and get a shower. After breakfast, I usually work one of those food delivery apps for about an hour. I can't stand a normal job, but I can handle those apps in small doses. Once I'm done, I relax for the rest of the day. I go to the beach a lot. Every day feels like a day off because I don't have a regular day job or a boss to deal with. It's pretty great, to be honest.
What is your biggest regret?
I once turned down a modeling job because I would have had to go to Milan for 4 weeks. I was in high school at the time, so I might have had to repeat a year. In hindsight, it was a very famous photographer, so it would have helped my modeling career. I should have gone.
What is the most serious law you have ever broken?
I smoked a lot of weed in states where it wasn't legal yet. I guess I've technically sold it too, which would be a more serious crime. I was never a drug dealer, but if I bought a bunch and then some of my friends bought off of me, I guess that's technically selling drugs, even if I'm not charging them a markup. In terms of legal penalties, that would be the most serious. The penalties for drug-related charges are ridiculous in this country.
What is your most embarrassing memory?
I was at a party once, and Lady Gaga showed up in the same outfit as me. How am I supposed to compete with Gaga? That was so humiliating.
What is your favorite holiday?
Arbor Day. I like that there's a holiday that's for trees and not humans. I always try to spend that day hanging out in the woods, away from people.
That's the end of this round. We'll soon find out who will be going home after this message from our sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by Vegas Tales, the full-motion video game from the makers of Truth. A wealthy resort owner is dying, and needs you to help decide who should inherit his estate. You'll be interviewing some over-the-top characters and helping choose who will become extremely wealthy. Be careful, as there may be more to some than meets the eye. Vegas Tales is available now on your favorite gaming platform. Now it's time for the audience to vote. Please enter the selection of the contestant you think should be going home. The votes are in. The $1 million prize is going to Autumn.
I didn't think I actually had a shot to win. This is quite a surprise. I don't know what to say.